Good morning, everybody. Thanks for being with us again today. A service is going to start in just a few minutes, but you may not realize that today is a very special day because it's this guy's birthday.
Yes.
Yeah, today is his actual birthday, and so I've got some questions I want to ask Pastor Brian about his birthday. First of all, how old are you?
I'm 54 today.
54 today, all right. What's your favorite birthday meal?
My favorite birthday meal would probably be Mexican food, be enchiladas.
Enchiladas.
Yeah, cheese enchiladas.
Okay,
Yeah,
all right. What's your favorite birthday dessert?
I like chocolate, so I'd like a chocolate cupcake with chocolate frosting. Yeah, that would be
Okay,
my
chocolate
favorite.
cupcake. With
I was asked
chocolate
this
frosting.
last week,
All
actually.
right.
So yeah.
Okay, all right. And then, what are you going to do special for your birthday?
I'm going to spend time with my family. We're going to go to Blare and have the grandkids throw the balls down the lanes and hang out with the family, and then eat some deep dish Chicago-style pizza. That's what
Oh,
we're
that
doing.
sounds good. All right. Hey, if you're watching today, make sure you get on and shoot Pastor Brian a text and wish him a
You can
happy
send me birthday
54
cards too, yeah.
birthday card. 54 birthday today. Make sure you wish him happy birthday. Service will be starting in just a few minutes. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Desert Springs Church Online. Thanks for joining us today. I'm Brad Davis. I'm the lead pastor.
Brian Durrett. I'm the Gilbert campus pastor.
It's kind of unique that we are both not speaking today. It's part of our summer series, and so we're both off, not speaking, and so we get to be your hosts today. So we're excited about that. So Brian, how you been doing?
I'm hanging in there, but I'm missing my sports.
I know it.
I'm turning on ESPN and they're showing the Little League World Series from 2012. I'm missing the finals. The Warriors aren't there.
They wouldn't have been there this year anyways.
Hockey, nothing's happening.
I
No
know.
sports. It's all repeats. So.
I'm missing the competition, right?
I know you're watching Survivor, so that's kind of
It's
filling
over
that,
with
but-
now,
oh, it's
yeah,
over with now too.
yeah. So, but let's do this. I thought why, since I'm missing competition, I know you are,
Yep.
why don't we do something competitive?
Okay, let's do it.
Rock, paper, scissors.
All right, I can beat you in that.
Okay, we're gonna play rock, paper, scissors, best out of 3. 1, 2, 3, shoot, all right?
Okay,
Ready? 1, 2, 3, shoot. Oh, you got me. All right.
One. Yes.
1, 2, 3, shoot.
I got it.
Okay, rematch next time we come back. We're so glad that you're with us today. Hang out for a few more minutes, and the service will start in just a few minutes. Thanks. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us today for Desert Springs Church Online. We really do appreciate you being with us today. And service is getting ready to start. I'm Pastor Brad Davis. I'm the lead pastor here.
And I'm Brian Durrett. I'm the Gilbert campus pastor. We want to say a special welcome to you. We are online, so jump on our chat and let us know who you are, where you're from, and join in on the community there. And then most importantly, there's a prayer request button. And if you have a prayer need, our hosts would love to connect with you privately. Just click on that, and during the service, they'll connect with you and pray with you, whatever's going on in your life. Welcome.
Service is starting now, so come on, stand up where you're at or lean in. Let's spend some time worshiping the Lord together. Thanks for being with us today.
is your faithfulness. I will rest in your promises. My confidence is your faithfulness. I will rest in your promises. My confidence is your faithfulness. I will rest in your promises. My confidence is your faithfulness. Faithful you are. Faithful forever you will be. Faithful you are. Yes, all your promises are yes and amen. Faithful you are. Faithful forever you will be. Faithful you are. It's all your promises are yes and amen. It's all your promises are yes and amen. It's all your promises are yes and
What a great morning kicked off with worship. It's so good to
Yeah.
worship together, whether you're at home or you're here with us live. It's so good to worship together. And a couple reminders for you. In a couple weeks, in 2 weeks, is Father's Day. So make sure you're planning right now. Moms and kids, if you have a father in the house or you don't, start planning for what you're going to do to honor the fathers in your life.
That's right. So since we're both fathers, we
Since
want to
we're
make
both
sure
fathers.
you know Father's Day is coming.
That's right.
I also want to remind you that we've started up P1 prayer again. And we were kind of off for a while, obviously, because of the stay-at-home orders, but we're back having P1 prayer. That's priority one.
Yeah.
That's every Saturday night from 5 to 6 in the auditorium. We'd love to have you come and join us. We just spend an hour praying together and setting the tone and the atmosphere for what we want God to do
So good.
in people's hearts and lives the following Sunday. So I want to invite you. Everybody, you're invited to come to P1 prayer and be a part of that prayer time.
Yeah, come on, join us.
Yeah, exactly. It's the offering time, and I want to share just a quick little thought with you. It's Proverbs chapter 3, and it says this: honor the Lord with your wealth, with the first fruits of all your crops.
Yeah.
And I want to focus on that first thought: honor the Lord with your wealth. How would you do that? How would you honor God with your wealth? And what I thought about is this: well, the first thing to do to honor God is to recognize where your finance or your increase comes from.
yeah.
That it all comes from God. The fact that you have a paycheck that's coming in, it's because of God's blessing and God's favor.
true.
So
It's
the
true.
first thing to do, if you're going to honor God, is remember where it comes from.
Yeah.
And then secondly would be this: to walk in obedience to what God's asked you to do with the finance or the resource that He's blessing you with. And so obviously that would come down to His tithe and our offerings. And so we just want to encourage you: honor God with your wealth.
Yeah.
Make sure that you're honoring God by being obedient with it. And so bring His tithes and your offerings. There's a whole bunch of different ways that you can be giving online, on our website, on our app. I want to thank you for continuing to be faithful. Let's just pray and ask God's blessing on the offering. Father, thank you so much for your faithfulness to us. God, we're so thankful that you've blessed all of us, and we do recognize that everything that we have comes to us because of you. Help us to honor you with how we use it. And so, God, as people give today, I pray that your favor and your blessing would rest upon their homes, upon their lives, upon their kids, upon their resources, God. And Lord, we just thank you for it because we know that you are faithful to your word.
Yes.
God, we honor you today. We love you. We ask it in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Hey, let's jump right back into some worship.
Hey everyone, thank you so much for watching today. My name is Blair. I'm one of the pastors here at Desert Springs, and it's just amazing to be here. I've been here for a couple months now. It's just been so cool to be a part of the family, and I can just tell you right now, I feel like I'm a part of the family, and just so grateful to be here to work for leaders like Pastor Brad and Pastor Becky. It's just been an honor. But I want to just spend some time before I really get into the message today and just tell you a little bit about myself. I'm a pastor's kid. I was born and raised in the church. I like to say I was born in the baptismal, which was a very interesting baptism Sunday. I'll tell you that. No, I'm joking. But I grew up in church. My dad's been a pastor my whole life. He has held a ton of different jobs in the church, from a youth pastor to a district youth director. He worked in a national office for the Assemblies of God. He's been an associate pastor, an executive pastor, and a lead pastor. So he's done it all. And with having so many different jobs, we've moved a lot. And so we actually moved 6 times before I was 13 years old, and I wouldn't change a single thing. It was amazing. But we finally landed in Washington State, in Vancouver, Washington, and that's where I call home. We lived there for about 10 years, and my dad was a lead pastor there, and it was amazing growing up there. But I remember my first summer camp when I was 13 years old in Washington, and I just had this incredible encounter with God. God did something in me I didn't even expect, and he called me into ministry. And I remember being so on fire for the Lord in that moment. It was what I call a mountaintop experience, where you feel so close to God, where you feel like you could conquer the world, where you feel like you can go get everyone saved. And I remember thinking, man, I'm going to go to my new middle school here in a couple months, and I'm going to go get everyone saved at that school. It's going to turn from a public school into a Christian school because of me. I'm going to go do it. Now, a couple months went by, and school started, and I went from trying to get everyone saved in my mind to I just wanted to survive every day. Middle school is hard. And I was the second shortest kid in my class. And so survival was my mode. And if I went throughout the day and no one noticed me, it was a win. Now, that first month of school, I was at youth group one night, and my youth pastor gets on stage. And he stands up there and he challenges everyone to go to school tomorrow and to do something bold for Jesus. Go represent Jesus just in an insane way tomorrow at school. And I sat in that chair and I responded pretty much how most people respond when the pastor challenges them to do something they don't want to do. You nod your head and say inside, there's no way I'm doing that, right? That's pretty much what I was doing. And so youth group was over, and my youth pastor came straight for me. He said, Blair, I want to challenge you to do something crazy for God tomorrow. And I was like, okay. And he's like, Blair, I want you to go at lunch tomorrow, and I want you to stand on a chair and scream, I love Jesus to everyone in the lunchroom. And you know those moments where your body does something and you don't even think about it? I found myself nodding my head yes, but inside saying absolutely not. I walked away from that conversation fully prepared to lie to that guy's face the next time I saw him. But you know what? I got home and I started thinking about it. I'm like, this guy works for my dad. You know what's going to happen? He's probably going to walk into his office the next morning and be like, hey, I'm a great youth pastor. You know why? Because I challenged your son to go to school today and stand up on a chair at lunch and scream, I love Jesus. And if I would have come home from school and my dad asked me about it and I said that I didn't do it, it probably would have started a conversation that I didn't want to have. So I kind of felt pressure that I had to do this. Now, I was terrified, to say the least, okay? And so I wake up that morning terrified. You know, like from the moment I open my eyes, I am scared. And so I get to school that morning and I sit through all of my morning classes, and I don't remember a single thing that my teachers taught me that day, which actually, you know what, that wasn't abnormal. But anyway, I get to lunch and lunchtime comes and I am just so scared. My plan was to get up on a chair and scream, I love Jesus, and run out the front doors of our school and never come back. That was my plan. And so I get in line for lunch and I have my tray, and you can probably hear my tray shaking because the silverware on it, and I'm just shaking like this. I'm so scared. So I get my food and I turn to the lunchroom and I see the chair, like a light from heaven opened up and I saw the chair. This is the chair I'm going to stand on. And so I walk up to that chair, and as soon as I get to the chair, I forget two very important things. Number one, I had a really heavy backpack on. Had all my books in it. We didn't have lockers, so I had to carry all my books. It probably weighed more than me. And then number two, I had a full tray of food in my hands. But I'm so focused on what I had to do that I forgot both of those things. And so I come to the chair and I look down the chair, but instead of putting my foot on the middle of the chair that would support my weight, I put it on this side of the chair. And so when I put all my weight down to stand up, the chair went flying the other direction. And then I fall backwards, and my food goes straight up in the air. So there I am, laying on the ground. Everyone saw what just happened. I'm covered in food, and I look up, and there's my math teacher standing over me, covered in food. He picks me up, takes me straight to the principal's office. Now, I know that could be a funny story to hear. It's funny to look back on. But in that moment, that experience marked me. It marked me in a way that I didn't expect. Now, it sent me into what I call a valley season in my life. Now, I remember thinking, why can't I just go back to that mountaintop experience with God, where I felt so close to him? I felt empowered. I felt like I had so much purpose that I was going to go conquer the world and nothing could go wrong. Why can't I just go back there? But now here I am in this valley. Now, I don't know what valley you might be in right now, but we all face valleys in life. See, in the valley, you feel alone. You feel isolated. You feel like you can't hear God. You feel like God is nowhere to be found. And all we want in those moments is to get back to that mountaintop experience that we had with God. See, in those mountaintop experiences, we see victory in our life. We see amazing things happen, but when we are in the valleys of life, we can feel like nothing is happening, that God isn't going before us anymore. We feel like we can't hear from him anymore, and it can be discouraging. It can be a place that you don't want to be in. You'll do whatever it takes to get out of it. You'll do whatever it takes to avoid it. But let me just tell you my first point. As Christians, we can be so busy looking for the mountaintop experiences in life that we can miss out on what the valley has to offer us. Today, I want to talk to you about the blessing of the valley. Now, we're in this amazing series called Beauty from Ashes, and I'm so excited about what God is doing in the lives of people. And today, I'm excited to tell you my story about God took the ashes of my life and made them beautiful. Now, the growth I really feel like I've experienced in life has come not from necessarily the mountaintops, but it's come from the valleys. See, growth usually comes from the battles that we fight, where we come out on the other side scarred, broken, exhausted. See, the battles that we face in the valley are vital for our growth in our relationship with Jesus. See, did you know back in the Old Testament days, battles were fought in valleys? They weren't fought on mountainsides. Mountains were where the armies would set up camp, but the valleys, that's where the wars were won. Everyone, I believe in this statement right now, when you're watching, you right there, looking at your screen, you have a purpose and a calling that God has planned out for you. I believe that with everything inside of me. You have a destiny on your life. But in order to get to that destiny that God has for you, you will not only have to get through multiple valleys in life, but sometimes you'll have to fight through them. And today we're going to be looking at the story of David and Goliath. And man, sometimes I forget how much I love this story. And I know some of you might know this story and some of you might not, and that's okay. But I'm going to hit some key points. I'm going to hit some key verses in this story that I think will help us run into the valleys of life. That we will run into the valleys ready to fight like the warriors that God has called us to be. So let me just give you a little refresher course on the story of David and Goliath. The Israelites, who were God's chosen people, were at war with the Philistines. And the Israelites and the Philistines were encamped on either side of the valley of Elah. And the Philistines would have been on the north side, and the Israelites would have been on the south side of the valley. See, the Philistines, what they did was send a guy named Goliath. Now, Goliath is 9.5 feet tall, and he is ripped. I mean, just yoked. This guy could bench press my car. At least that's how I picture him in my mind. This guy's huge. And let's just say that no one from Israel stepped up to fight Goliath. See, what Goliath said is, you send someone from Israel out to the valley to meet me, and we will fight, and whoever wins that one-on-one battle will win the entire war. So for over 40 days, Goliath came out to the valley, and he taunted Israel. He made fun of God. He made fun of the Israelites. But then David shows up. David, this teenage kid, his dad told him to bring food to his brothers who were in the army of Israel. And David hears what's going on, and he starts asking around, why is no one doing anything? Why is no one going out and fighting Goliath? And King Saul hears what David is asking, and he summons David before him. And when David goes before King Saul, he tells him, I'll go fight. I'll go fight Goliath. And then Saul replies, you're only a boy. And Goliath has been trained since birth to be a warrior, and you haven't. And David replies with something that I feel like we all need as Christ followers when we're entering into a battle, and that's perspective. So let's read about it. 1 Samuel chapter 17, verses 34 through 36 says this. And David said to Saul, your servant has been a shepherd of the flock for his father. If the lion or the bear would come up and carry off a sheep from the group, I would go out after it and strike it down and rescue the sheep from its mouth. If it rose up against me, I would grab it by its beard and strike it down and kill it. Your servant has struck down both the lion and the bear, and this uncircumcised Philistine will be like one of them because he's defied the battle lines of the living God. Man, David comes out swinging, talking smack against Goliath and the Philistines. I love that. See, David had perspective. See, in the back of David's mind, he knew exactly what God has done in him and through him before. David is so confident in this moment. He's so sure that he will defeat Goliath. Why? Because look at what God has done in him before, defeating a lion and a bear. See, guys, I really believe that the battles that we will face in life, they might look a little different, but they're kind of the same. And you know what usually happens with battles? They don't get smaller. Our battles in life usually get bigger. See, when we go through battles in life, we need to keep in mind what God has done in us and through us before. So that way, when we face a new battle, we don't back down. We actually step up. We don't step back. We step up into the battle because we have so much confidence in what God has done in us before. See, guys, we have to fight our own battles. Keep in mind, at this point, David has already been anointed king. He's already been anointed king of Israel. He already knew that one day he was going to be the king of Israel. You know, one thing that I think about this all the time is, why wouldn't God, or why wouldn't David just sit back and say, man, this isn't my battle to fight. This is King Saul's battle. This is not my battle. This has nothing to do with me. I'm just going to sit back and I'm going to wait for my reign as king, and then it'll be my battle. But no, David stepped up and he said, this is my battle. And some of you watching right now, maybe you're facing a valley, maybe you're in a valley, and there's a battle that you've been avoiding. There's a battle that you've been waiting for someone else to fight. But guess what? You have to fight your own battle. We have to fight our own battles in the valleys of life. See, this battle was too important to David to send anyone else. After David convinces King Saul to let him fight, King Saul insists that David wear the king's armor. Let's continue reading. Verses 39 through 40 says this. Then David strapped on his sword over his fighting attire, but he tried in vain to walk around, for he was not trained to use them. So David said to Saul, I am not able to walk in these because I am not trained to use them. So David removed them. Then he took his staff in his hand, picked out for himself 5 smooth stones from the wadi, and he put them in his shepherd's bag in the pouch. And with his sling in his hand, he approached the Philistine. See, the other thing that David had entering into the valley, into that battle that he was going to fight against Goliath, was he had confidence. He had confidence. See, God had equipped David with a very specific story. He's equipped David with a very specific background and a very specific set of skills and abilities that God had blessed him with. David, his whole life, had been training for a battle that he didn't even know he was going to fight. All the days and hours that he spent practicing his sling, he had no idea that that would be the tool that would be used to win the war for Israel. Every experience that you have had in your life has been a training ground for the battles that you will fight in the future. If David went into battle with someone else's armor, he would have lost, because he said he wasn't trained to use them. David knew that he had to go into battle with what God had equipped him with. And that is why he saw the victory. That's why he defeated Goliath. But I think all too often we try to fight our own battles with someone else's strengths. We try to fight our own battles with someone else's background. We try to fight our own battles with someone else's story. We try to fight our own battles with someone else's calling. We try to fight our own battles with someone else's prayer life. We try to fight our own battles with someone else's faith. And we wonder why we continue to face the same battle over and over again. It's because we're not using the skills, the abilities, and the armor that God has given us to fight our battles. We're trying to use someone else's, and it just doesn't fit because we're not trained to use them. See, in the valleys of life, they're vital for our development and our walk with the Lord, because it's where we discover who we are and who God has created us to be. It's where our calling and our identity in Christ is refined. The valley is the proving ground for our calling. If our calling can't survive the valley, it's not worthy of the mountaintop. If David didn't survive the battle in the valley, then he didn't deserve to be king. In the valley is where David's legend grew that would later usher in his reign as king of Israel. But the kingdom of Israel was at war, and in order for Israel to win the war, David had to win his individual battle in the valley. So what war is your family waiting to win because you keep avoiding the individual battle that you must fight? What war is this church waiting to win because you keep avoiding the individual battle that's before you? Now, right now in our nation, we're facing a war. It's a war against racism. And how we win that war is by winning the individual battle inside of us, the individual battle of prejudice. We need to look inside of our own lives and our own heart and ask God to shine a light into the darkness of our heart, to rid us of any prejudice against anyone. That is how we win the war against racism. It's by winning the individual battle of prejudice inside of our own heart. Now, I don't know what battle that you're facing in life right now. But for me, after entering into that valley in middle school, like I talked about, I felt like I couldn't get out of that valley. I felt like for years I gave up trying to get back to that mountaintop where I felt God was at. And so eventually I just turned my back on God. Now, my junior year of high school, I made the decision to try drugs for the first time. And I was really into football, and I worked out all the time. And beginning of my senior year of high school, I weighed about 190 pounds going into the season of football. But after football was over, I felt like my identity as a football player was stripped from me. And so I dove headfirst into the world of drugs. I became heavily addicted to cocaine, and when I graduated high school, I weighed 135 pounds. The addiction had controlled my life. It controlled my mind. It controlled my thoughts. It controlled my actions. And I found myself one day after graduation wondering, what am I going to do with my life? And I remember being in my room, and I looked up to the heavens and I said, God, if you want me, I'm right here. I know you probably don't want to have anything to do with me because of everything that I've done wrong against you, God. I turn my back on you, God. I understand if you don't want to have anything to do with me, but God, if you do want me, I'm right here. And in that moment, I can't explain it to you, but God just came down into my heart and transformed me in a way that has marked me since. He renewed my calling into ministry. He healed me in my addiction overnight. I never experienced withdrawal. That's what God did for me, and he can do something similar for you. What battle are you facing today? Are you done being a victim of your battle in the valley? Are you ready to be a warrior instead, like David? We need warriors to run into the valleys of life and win the battles with the God-given perspective and confidence that God is going before them and that they are going to see a victory. They're going into the valleys, into those battles, and they with that perspective saying, if God has gone before me before, he's going to go before me now. If God has healed me before, he's going to heal me now. If God's given me supernatural strength before, he's going to give me supernatural strength now. We need to go into the battles of our lives and the valleys that we will face with the perspective and the confidence that God is with us, that we are warriors for him, and he will go before us until we see the war won. See, guys, there's blessing in the valley. It's the blessing of the battle because it's the battle that refines us. It refines us into the person that God has created us to be. See, God had turned my battle in the valley into a blessing. God's used my story to impact people. God used that valley to refine me as a person. See, I chose the battle of addiction. But when I turned my heart back to God, he turned it into a blessing. See, in that moment, God made beauty from ashes. In the valley, that's where your blessing awaits. Because you know what? God loves to take the broken, messed up areas of our life and make them beautiful. Just like he did for me, he'll do the same for you. Now, I don't know if you're watching right now, and I don't know what battle you're facing. Maybe it's the battle of addiction like I faced. Maybe it's a financial battle. Maybe it's the battle of COVID-19. I don't know what battle you're facing right now. But God has already equipped you with everything you need to win that battle in the valley that you're in. All you need to do is turn back to him. So if you're watching right now and you want to accept Jesus into your life so that he can help you win that battle in the valley that you're in, I want you to look over to the comments box right now. And there's a raise hand tab, and I want you just to click that tab. Do it right now. Click on the raise hand button right now. And now I want you to just bow your heads and close your eyes with me as I pray and repeat these words after me. Say, Jesus, forgive me my sin. Come into my life. Make me a new person. Give me a purpose. Help me fight my battle. I give my life to you, and I give my future to you. In your name, amen. See, you just made the most important decision that you could ever make. I'm so excited for the future that God has for you. I would encourage you to click on the live prayer button. We have a host that's waiting to talk to you. They'd love to connect with you and get your information. But thank you so much for watching. Hey, come hang out with us. Desert Springs Chandler or our Gilbert campus at 9 a.m. or 11 a.m. We'd love to see you. We'll see you soon.
What an incredible word. Pastor Blare did a fantastic
Tore
job.
it
It was
up,
good to
tore
hear
it
him
up,
and hear his
yeah.
heart
Yeah.
and get to know him a little bit better. Man, it was a great, great message.
Yeah, it was. Hey, just a couple reminders for you. Next week, you can join us again online. We'll be
absolutely.
right here to share the word with you
9 and
again.
11.
9 and 11.
Yep.
And you also, in person, you can come 9 and 11 at our Chandler campus.
Yeah.
And finally, the Gilbert
Yes.
campus is going to be back in person at
Yeah.
Cooley Middle School on June 14th in person at 10 a.m. So you got lots of options.
good. Yeah.
Join us again. We're so glad you were here with us today.
Yep. Thanks for being with us. We love you. God bless you. Have a great week.